everybody. This is Dawn Mitchell, and welcome to Dawn of Sports. Today, we are talking Gopher women's basketball and some other stuff as well with my colleague, my guest. I'm so excited to have him on, Ahmad Hicks. We're going to talk about the women dancing and hosting and find out a little bit more about Ahmad himself. That's all coming up. Well, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Ahmad Hicks. He works with me. He's my colleague at Fox 9 Sports. Ahmad, first of all, thanks for joining us. You've been running and gunning lately. Are you catching your breath yet?
Look, today I had to take a day off because I had to move my schedule. On Fridays I'm off, but I have to get ready to cover this game. So it's been a circus the last month. I feel like just being available, going to every game, traveling to Indy for the Big Ten tournament. But you know what? It's all worth it, especially if they can make a deep run in the NCAAs.
I know last week on the Gophers Coaches Show, you had asked this awesome question to Dawn Plitzowite about why she thinks they should host, which, yes, they are hosting the first and second round of the NCAA. So that's a huge feather in the cap. But she not only said why she thought, she backed it up with hardcore facts. Like, she was ready, wasn't she?
Oh, you should. So we're doing the show, right? So I
Yeah.
produced this show, the Gopher Coaches Show. And so we're getting ready for the show. And she goes in one of the commercial breaks, Ahmad, are you going to ask me about why we deserve to host? I said, absolutely, coach. She's like, okay, because I have all my facts right here. I have like 12 hardcore facts why we deserve to host. And I was like, don't worry, I'm going to give you your moment. So when we teed her up for that question, I mean, she just went on for a minute and 45 seconds, like on why they deserve to host in this year's tournament. And I mean, she was right. She hit the nail on the head. Like, they were one of the best teams in the net rankings, all year long. They had a lot of quality wins, no bad losses. So the writing was on the wall, for them to host. They took care of business in the regular season, and it paid out for them.
Oh my God. Like, when I listened to that, I'm like, she came out guns a-blazing. Like, we are going to host this thing. And this is the reason why. And that's the one thing I really love about Coach P. When she first got here, she had this agenda. She knew how she was going to get it done. She got focused. Even when I sat down with her, Ahmad, and you know her because you see her much more than I do now almost on a daily basis right now for you. I left with gifts, like books, like read this book and have this. And this is what I tell my team. Like, she walks the walk. Like, this is her to a T, and it's showing now through her team. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Her message when she first got here, Dawn, was find a way. She said she was a country girl that grew up on a farm and things like that. And, a lot of her friends would be out in the summers partying on lakes, on boats, on things like that. And her answer would always be, hey, when can you join us? Whenever I get done with my work. I have to finish my work first. Once I finish my farm work, then I can go out and go have a good time. And that just correlates over to her as a basketball coach. Like, her team, they have a lot of fun. They love being around one another, but they also work. Like, they work their tails off. They get their work done, and then they go handle their business. I thought one thing that always stood out to me about her, when we do the Gopher Coaches Show, typically the coach has a little bit of time to just kind of talk to us, chit chat after we record. And, maybe they have 5-10 minutes out of their day to just talk off camera, off mic about whatever's going on. Dawn would always leave immediately. As soon as we got done taping, she would beeline right back to her office to go watch more film. And I was blown away by that. Like, I was like, you know what? She doesn't even have 5 minutes to talk because she's going to go watch film. But it just shows you how much work she puts into her craft, and it's paid off. Her third year here, now they're going dancing.
They earned the 4th seed in the Sacramento region. They're facing 13th seed Green Bay. And I mean, this team, they don't take any team for granted, right? They don't care if they're 13th seed and they're Green Bay. Green Bay, I'm looking at their record, 25-8, 17-3 in the Horizon League. They're no joke either. So she's going to have them focused for this team, isn't she?
Yeah, she better. Because the thing about it, Green Bay has what I think four players on their team that are from the state of Minnesota, and so they are certainly going to be coming here with a chip on their shoulder. They've been good, like you said. You mentioned their Horizon League conference record. Like, so this is not a slouch of a basketball team. This is a motivated bunch, a team that believes they probably can win, and they're going to have a lot of fans at Williams Arena on Friday. So I'm sure the Gophers are going to have their work cut out for them, but I think as long as they don't turn the ball over, as long as they don't commit a ton of fouls, and they just make their shots, which they're prone to do at home, they're 13-3 at home this season. I think everything will be okay. I think it'll be a good first round test for them. You know, they had a lot of time off because of their early exit in the Big Ten tournament and things like that. So I think they're fiending to get back out there and put some good product on tape. And I think it'll be a good test for them for sure.
You know, the interesting thing, and you know their mentality from being around them. Some teams get intimidated by the history of teams before them, right? And I'm sure this week they're hearing all about this. The first time they've been in since 2018, first time they're hosting since 2005. That's when they went to Sweet 16. There's been enough time, I think, in between that the weight of what past teams have done doesn't affect them. And I'm just hearing like how, you know, Don P has them ready, that probably won't even figure in, but you do have that pressure when you're at the barn.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I asked him about that last week. I was like, "Is there any pressure, like hosting and this big tournament? The big stage, a stage that your team really hasn't been on lately?" And she said no. She said we enjoy the precious moment. She was like, "You have to enjoy all of this," and she was like, "This is what we worked hard for." And for people who don't remember, the Gophers went to the WBIT and the WNIT in the most recent years, and they won the WBIT tournament. They lost the WNIT to St. Louis 2 years ago in the championship game. So they are a little familiar with postseason. I won't say postseason success, but playing in a postseason tournament and going far and having that one and done mentality. So I think that Ohio State game in the conference tournament was a wake up call for them.
Now, we've heard these names: Maya Battle, Mara Braun, Tori McKinney, Grace Kaholski.
Mhm.
Which one of those, in your opinion, has really stepped her game up? I love how Tori McKinney's been playing this year. We like
Mhm.
Mara Braun as being healthy. You know, everyone crosses their fingers on that, and she's enjoying success. But in your mind, who have you really like said, "Wow, she's really stepped it up"?
I think it's two players. I think I'll start with Tori McKinney. She's a sophomore. She was somebody who basically unseated Mallory Heyer, who had been a 3-year starter for the Gophers in the same recruiting class as Amaya Battle, Mara Braun, and Nehemiah Holloway. They all came in together. I did a story with them. And then I think Mallory found out that Tori was going to be a starter this year as a sophomore. And that kind of, caused Mallory to enter the transfer portal and go to Oregon. But I think Tori McKinney, she's lanky, she's tall, and she's skilled offensively and defensively. She's had a huge sophomore year for Dawn Plitzaway and the Golden Gophers. And I think, if the Gophers want to go far and they want to be successful this year, Tori McKinney has to be healthy. She has to be on the court. In that game versus Ohio State, she was in a little bit of foul trouble and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, they couldn't rely on her, but she's the Gophers' leading scorer, averaging 13 points a game this year. So I think she is instrumental to their success if they want to make a deep tournament run. The other name is Grace Kraholski. When she first came here 3 years ago, all she could do was just catch and shoot. That's what she was known for. Just sharpshooter, 3-point shooter. I'm going to shoot the lights out of the basketball. Now she can put the ball on the court. Now she can create her own shot. Now she can do everything that is asked of her, including play defense. So I think those two have to stay out of foul trouble. They have to hit big shot after big shot. And then, of course, Mara Braun and Amaya Battle have to have a big day. If those two don't have a big day either, it's going to be a long day. But I think the team is led by Groholski and McKinney now.
Yeah, I mean, like we always say, you have to stress the defense too, but you also have to get out to that hot start. Like get the crowd in it at home, get it
Mhm.
early. You know, none of these sluggish starts and try to catch up like by halftime or the end.
Yeah, and you know what the good thing about them is, Don? They can play from behind. Like they are a team that knows how to chip away. But like you said, the last thing you want is for Green Bay to travel here with all of their fans and to let them steal the momentum in the first half. Because now it doesn't feel like a home game. Now your backs are up against the wall, and that pressure that you spoke about a couple of minutes ago, that's when it starts to build a little bit on your shoulders when you're playing from behind in front of your home fans and in a game that everyone's expecting you to win. And so, yes, they have to start fast in this game. Absolutely.
And we talk about the women's side of things, where the men's basketball team, I mean, they did great things under Nico this year, but there's only so much you can do with 6 players, right? Like I said, all they needed was a flute and a bandage around their head by the end, and they'd be like the Revolutionary War heroes just getting through the season. But then when you look at the women, the women's hockey team making it to the dance, and then you look at the basketball team, they're leading the charge again. But what I love is that the men's teams, men and women, are really supporting the women as well. So I think it's going to be rocking on Friday. And I think we're going to see a lot of the other athletes there as well.
Yeah, and something they started doing towards the end of the year to get more students there was they started bringing teams there. Like, and that's the biggest way to grow your fan base, I feel like, because there's so many athletes on a college campus. If you guys just started by supporting one another, like, then of course you're going to have a lot of fans. And this is coming from me, the former college football player at SIU, where it's like we didn't go to a lot of basketball games and softball games and volleyball games, but if you can imagine just 115 of your teammates going to this game, you're going to start to attract other sports there. And I think that's what the Gophers did recently, having Darius Taylor and Alfonso Taylor come out to the basketball game, miking them up and just showing how fun it is to be in the barn, to be a student, pep person and kind of lead the charge. And then the next game after that, then you saw it was like the men's golf team, there, or the swim and dive team there. So I think it's only going to expand this weekend. Plus, it's the first time that a tournament has been held at Williams Arena since '05. I think a lot of kids on campus want to know what that atmosphere will be like.
Oh, absolutely. All right, we're going to hit a quick break. More with Ahmad when we come back. We're going to get to know him a little bit better. I know you've been here about 4 years now, right? But
Yep.
yeah, I'm going to. Some people, we're going to do like a little Q&A, get to know AH a little bit better after this. Welcome back, everyone. I am here with Ahmad Hicks, Fox 9 sports host, anchor, reporter. He's been doing everything, it seems, lately, running around the country, Indianapolis, back here now with Gopher Women, also travels along with me for the Vikings. So, Ahmad, I know that 4 years have gone quick. It does feel like you have been working with me for like 10. I feel like I know your family, like your son, Simone. It's got to be hard, though, sometimes to come to a place that's so cold. I mean, I lived in Boston and then Chicago, so I thought I knew cold until I came here. But now you're settled in, right? You're in Minnesota now. Don't you feel it?
Yeah, it's growing on me now, Don. Like I fully embrace it. I'm the guy, it's 35, 40 degrees outside, and I'm walking outside in like a quarter zip, no jacket or anything. Compared to when I first got here, I wore a bubble. I tell people all the time, my first year here, it snowed 90 inches, and like from October 10th to like May or whatever. And I want to say I wore snow pants and a huge winter coat from like November to April. And I
Yeah,
thought that was
you
the
were
normal.
hating it. You were
I
hating
thought that was the normal. Like I was like, this sucks.
it.
But it's gotten a lot better now. I'm kind of settled in. I'm embracing the cold now. Do I love long winters? Absolutely not. But I kind of like the state of Minnesota. I didn't think I would be here longer than 2 years, not gonna lie. But now I'm going on forward, like you said, and have my family here. And Simone's not a big fan of the cold, but I told her it takes a couple of years.
Yeah, you got a leg up on her there, right? I mean, listen. I thought my first contract 3 years, and I said like a football term, I'm three and out. I'm three and out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm on 21 right now. My brothers were like, "Do you own a compass? Do you even own one?" Like, and I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but like you do, you get assimilated pretty quickly, and you like me because you're from St. Louis, and when you even worked in St. Louis, you covered hockey. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know your hockey. So what was it like growing up in St. Louis, being a football player, but also, gosh, you made a run with the Blues, didn't you?
Yeah, so St. Louis was cool. Born and raised there. Went to a school called Kirkwood High School, and then I went on after school. Got a D2 scholarship to Missouri Western to play football. Went there for a year, but they didn't have a journalism program, so it was pick and choose for me. It was like, all right, do you stay here, have success on the football field, or do you go somewhere where you kind of set your life up after football? And I was one of those guys who was raised by two great parents where they would, of course, let me dream big and think that I was going to be an NFL player or whatever professional sport I chased. But they always made sure I had a plan B. And what they would call it was plan 1A, plan 1B. They could say you could dream big, but dream realistic. And so I ended up transferring to SIU Carbondale. It was a Division I FCS school. That's where my best friend was playing ball at the time. And so I ended up walking on to that football team. They had a great journalism program. So I went there for 3 years. Unfortunately, got hit with the injury bug 2 years in a row. I know when people Google me in this day and age and look up my stats, they'll see like a guy who didn't record a catch or do anything. But that's because I sustained two, I won't say season-ending injuries, but two pretty serious injuries during training camp or right before it. So that kind of ended my playing days, but taught me a lot about life, perseverance, not getting what you want, but still having to see it through and finish it. So taught me a lot. It gave me a lot of good characteristics to go on the TV. So graduated in 15 and then got a job, went back home for 8 months, did some internships in St. Louis, and then got my first job in Jackson, Tennessee. Was there for 3.5 years as, a newbie, the only person in the sports department. Those were some long, long, long days because you're driving like you're getting in at 2:30, 3 o'clock because you can't get overtime and then you're having to drive an hour away for content and an hour back, and then you get back at 5:30, and you got to be ready for your sports hit at 6:20.
Right.
And so those were some days, but they paid off. And then I got a job in St. Louis, where I was blessed. It's they tell us all the time, Don. It's not about what you know; it's about who you know. And I was blessed that Frank Cusimano, the sports director at KSTK, he's still there now. He shopped in one of my dad's stores that he worked at, and they became friends. And he said one day my dad told him I worked in TV, and he said, "Have him give me a call." He said, "Let me look at some stuff." And this was back in college, so I shadowed him one day in college, just on a free Friday night. And he called me, 4 years later, once I was working in TV in Jackson, and he was like, "Let me see your tape. Let me see how good you are." So he called me the first time after a year there. Wasn't good enough to get the job, so someone else got the job. Then he called me again 2 years later. "Hey, send me your tape now." And I was like, "All right," sent him my tape. And next thing you know, I think the next week I was on a plane to St. Louis to work there. So went home, and that's when all the fun started. Got to cover this a Stanley Cup run, and like you said, grew up in St. Louis, and I knew about the hockey scene there. I knew the Blues always lost in the first round, and it just so happened the first year that I got there, the Blues went to the Stanley Cup. And so they beat your Boston Bruins, I know, which is, probably a little
Ouch.
painful for you. But so I did a lot of traveling that year. That was a really fun year because I think I started with the NCAAs in San Jose with Slew Billikens, and then later that year the Blues went on their run. So I traveled to, I think it was Dallas, San Jose, and then Boston for the final. And so that was really, really exciting. And then the next year covered a Cardinals playoff run at Busch Stadium. And my ending treat, which I'll say all the time, shout out to my sports director. For those who don't know, Simone and I were long distance. I worked in St. Louis. She was in Milwaukee. Our son lived in Milwaukee with her. And so I had just wrapped up my time in St. Louis, or so I had thought. And I think I had like technically one day left on my contract, but I was off that day and I was in Milwaukee with Simone, with my son, and the Cardinals were playing the Brewers, and they had a chance to clinch the division. It was Albert Pujols' final year, all that stuff. And my sports director called me and was like, "Hey, instead of sending one of us up there, do you want to go over there and cover them clinching for your final
Oh,
assignment?" And I was
that's
like,
awesome.
"Absolutely." And at that point, I had never covered a clinching locker room before. Like he would always cover it, things like that. And so my final assignment in St. Louis before coming to Minnesota was covering the Cardinals clinching in Albert Pujols' final year in Milwaukee. So I got the champagne celebration and all that stuff. So it was exciting. So it was 4 years, lived at home with my parents all 4 years. A lot of people talk about me for that, but I saved a
You're
ton of
smart,
money.
saving money, right?
I say, because people don't know, like coming from
Right.
Jackson, Tennessee, I made $28,000 a year, 3 years in a row. So like
Right.
my paychecks were $900 every 2 weeks, and my rent was $900. And so it's
Uh-huh.
like, just imagine like the cost of trying to live. So I came home with so much credit card debt. But my parents were, grateful enough to have me home and let me pay off my debt and kind of get ahead. So, and then I landed up here in Minnesota. So bounced around a little bit, but enjoyed some time at home. And now Minnesota is home, Don.
And now all of you are all in the same place. You,
Yep.
Simone Wood, who is our news anchor, and your son Houston, who I'm going to steal from you at some point. Like you're like, where's Houston? You'll just know that he's at my house because he's absolutely adorable. I love what you said about your injuries in college, because
Hmm.
when I got injured. I went to Boston College to play soccer and was hurt, and then lost my spot like after my freshman year to a hotshot freshman, which
Hmm.
is fine. Then my friend said, you should be a cheerleader. And, when I've never been a cheerleader, an athlete gets offended, so I walked on the rugby team. So that's kind of like, I have the same mindset as you, like, what? You're hurt and then you
Hmm.
went. But I got injured my senior year playing rugby. Ended up, it was a fractured neck, believe it or not. I wouldn't know it was fractured until like 2 years later at a Celtics practice. And that's a whole different
Wow.
story. But what you said about that is it allowed me to do my very first internship. So I did an internship in TV the second semester of my senior year, only because I couldn't play sports.
Hmm.
And it teaches you so much, like you said, resilience. It teaches you about yourself. And also, like, for back, for women, there were not many opportunities. So I didn't think I was going to go play pro. But, I always thought I'd be like a Mia Hamm, I'm going to play, I'll make myself on the Olympic team or something. But for men, like that, there's that reality that, and a lot of your friends went and played pro, that you could play pro. So that mind shift that I really want to explain to people listening, especially if there's young people listening, about how you can overcome that and how you can turn it into a positive. I mean, it's harder than it sounds, right? Because they're like, well, look at Ahmad. Now he's anchoring and hosting, and he's on TV in a top 15 market. But what was the hardest part right there of saying, okay, now I got to shift my dreams? What was that for you?
Oh, it was tough, Don. It wasn't something that just I did, in the snap of a fingers. I vividly remember I had to grow up. I had to learn a little bit. I remember when I got hurt, and the coach told me that I wasn't gonna get invited to training camp because I was hurt, and they wanted to bring a healthy body my senior year. I was devastated because I had worked my tail off from fourth string, got all the way up to second string, had a great spring ball. Like, I knew for a fact I was going to play Division I football my senior year. Like, it was set in stone. And I remember when my trainer told me that I was going to be out for the foreseeable future. This was literally like 4 days before training camp. So our lockers are getting set up. They're putting the new gear in there. Like, we're all gearing up for the season. I'm excited as I've ever been. And then the trainer says, yeah, you're going to put a boot on and you're not going to do any football activities for the next month or two. I was crushed. Like, I went to my car, I called my mom, and I just like bawled my eyes out like for 25 minutes. And I was just like, what is wrong with me? Like, why me? Like, this and that. So it was like really, really tough. And then I was also going through an internship at that time. So my summers were kind of like brutal. Like, I woke up at 5 o'clock to do a mailroom job. No, I would start a workout at 5 o'clock, go to my mailroom job from 6 to 10, finish my mailroom job in the summer, go do conditioning from 10 to 11 on my own, and then we'll have summer school, and then we'll have 7-on-7 or team practice or whatever in the afternoon, and then I still had an internship that I had to go do from 3 to 11 o'clock at night. So my days were busy from 5 to 11, while most of my friends were going to practice, sleeping in, going to parties, going swimming. I'm like literally busting my tail from sun up to sundown. And I'll never forget when I got the news that I wasn't going to play, I stopped going to my internship. I just stopped going because I was like, I was, I
You're
was so,
crushed.
yeah, I was crushed. And I was so in tune to my athletics that it devastated my life outside of that. And so I'll never forget my mentor, Darren Kennard. Like, he's a great mentor, had worked in SIU forever. And I remember when I stopped showing up initially, some other sportscasters asked to say, hey, where's Ahmad been? We haven't seen Ahmad. He said, I don't know. He said, but whatever's going on, he's got to figure it out. He said, because we won't be here to just baby him. He'll have to figure it out. And so vividly remember that day. And he kind of told me that story. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I was like, I can't wear my emotions on my sleeves any longer. Like, this is the real world, like my parents were telling me about. And so that's why I said they always told me to dream big, but dream realistic. And so while a lot of my friends were fixated on going to the NFL, I pivoted towards the beginning of my senior year and focused all in on journalism. I mean, I went all in, joining the TV production, producing, doing all the stuff that I needed to do for my career to flourish. And so many of my teammates would make fun of me. And they'd be like, "Oh, you're doing this. It's never gonna work out." And I'm like, "That's cool. Like, that's your
What?
dream to make it to the NFL. This is my dream." And it just so happened that it worked out. But it's because I had that determination that this is gonna work. Like, this is my dream, and I'm never gonna let it fail. But I think that I wouldn't have gotten there if my parents didn't make me dream realistic growing up. Like, if I just grew up thinking NFL or bust and I got to the end of my senior year and it's not the NFL, then it's like, whoa, what do I do now? Whereas my parents were like, you always need to have something to fall back on. So I always had that in the back of my head. Like, in middle school, I did the morning announcements. In high school, I did the morning announcements, and we had a teleprompter and a green screen. Like, we were very privileged at my high school. So it was something I knew I always wanted to do. So when people asked me, how long did you know you wanted to do this? My answer was like fifth or sixth grade. And I knew for a fact it was going to work for me. And so there was no other alternative. I joke with my friend Norman Seawright and Reggie Wilson, and we always say, like, what would we be doing if we didn't have television? And all of us say the same thing. Like, I don't know. I have no
Yeah.
idea. Like, this is just who I am right now. And so, yeah, so I give credit to my parents for making me dream realistic and always shoot for the star, aim for the stars. But trying to make sure that you do something that's obtainable, and the NFL isn't always obtainable for everybody.
I would have paid money to sit in a homeroom class and listen to you do the announcements.
it
They're probably
was it was
hilarious.
it was not as good as I am now. I will say that. I have one vivid memory, April Fool's Day. My co-anchor and I, Erica Deeroff, she also went to SIU, but we came up with a joke to say, hey, to start the announcements, you're gonna say, "You're Ahmad, I'm Erica. It's April Fool's Day, blah blah blah." And I'll never forget. She started the announcement. She goes, "Hey, I'm Erica Deeroff," and I go, and I'm, and I paused for like 5 seconds. And I was like, I'm Ahmad Hicks," and I was like, it was like I had never dealt with like something not going according to script, but. Now it's just normal. Stuff like that happens. I can keep on rolling. But yes, I looked like a deer in headlights when she did that. I was like, you threw off our whole joke. So yes.
So wait a minute. These announcements were like on camera. So you
Yes, they
guys
were
have
live.
you had
So
TVs in your classroom?
yes, yeah. So like I said, I went to a very privileged high school.
Oh my
So
goodness,
we
that's
all
even
had
better. I thought it was just
we
like
were
over the loudspeaker.
Oh, no, 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 no. So we were past the days of like
You,
rolling TVs. Like, every TV in our high school had a TV.
flat
I mean, every
screen TV.
classroom
Yeah,
had a TV in there, or a smart board where the projector turned into a TV, and our
that
hallways had TVs all throughout them. And so we would have first period of the day, and mine was journalism. So we would already be in the studio working on the show that day. And then soon as first period got out, everybody went to class. And then we stayed in our studio. And that's when we did our 5 to 7 minute morning announcements, which included like the schedule for the day, the lunch
yeah.
period for the day, what's on the menu. The principal would come in, say his couple of words for the students, and then we would end it, and then we would walk to class. So yeah, so it was on TV. We had a green screen, we had a camera with a teleprompter, the whole nine, Don.
I'm blaming her though because she messed up the bit. She was supposed to
She
say she was a
did.
mod
She
Hicks, right?
she did. I wasn't ready for that mishap at such an early age, but now I'm prepared. That happens all the time, I feel like.
Oh, I know. Well, you know what? You should have been like Ron Burgundy and just like read it off the teleprompter, or. Oh my gosh, hilarious,
I know.
hilarious. Well, before I let you go, what is maybe the one piece of advice that you would give younger people that are trying to get into journalism now? You and I, we both know we have so many people that ask us, like,
Mhm.
what did you do? And whenever I say be yourself, like, they're always like, what does that mean? I remember when someone said that to me, you didn't know. Right.
What?
We have the
Oh my goodness.
luxury at Fox 9. They just let us be ourselves. And I mean, like, when I try to explain it, I'm like, don't have a double voice, sound like you do in real life.
Right.
If this is how you would react in real, like when you and I do bits together, that's really what we would say to each other in the sports office. So, you
Hmm.
know, what's your advice? Your advice?
Honestly, it's that, and it's to be yourself, and that was the hardest thing for me to grasp when I first got started. Like I thought I had to be like Stuart Scott, like a mentor, not a mentor of mine, but someone that I idolized and just grew up, watching. I thought I had to have all the punchlines like him, and just hit every highlight like him. But I had to realize like it took me, I want to say like 2.5 years to find out my voice myself. And granted, I was fortunate enough to go on TV for 5 days a week, 3 times a day. So I got ample opportunities to get my reps out the way. But I tell people all the time, you got to be yourself. Like you
Hmm.
can't be anybody other than you. Like if you crack jokes, you have this crazy personality, show that on camera, show that on a podcast, like do whatever. So that's my biggest thing. Be you. And then secondly, what I always tell every young aspiring sportscaster nowadays, start now. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Like, don't wait. Like, so many of us back in the day, like, and I'm sure things were totally different when you started, Don, compared to
Well,
me, but it's
we
like,
didn't even have television. We just scribbled
exactly.
on rocks. It was
You know,
hieroglyphics.
it's
It
just
was,
like,
well, I'm not
it's
that
like,
old.
oh, no, no, not that old at all. But I feel
No,
like,
I know.
for like back in your day, news was like that was the only place to consume news, like the
Correct.
five, six,
It's so
9 and 10 o'clock
different now.
news.
Yeah, with like
Exactly.
YouTube and Instagram and social
Podcasts and
media. Yeah,
everything.
podcasts. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I tell everybody now, like, you have to start now. I was like, in high school, I didn't think, or we didn't have the luxury to be like, oh, well, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I'm going to start streaming on Facebook and Instagram Live, and I'm going to create a podcast with my friends, and I'm going to do mock games. Like, we didn't have those opportunities. You know what I'm saying? Growing up. Whereas
Yeah.
nowadays, I tell people, if you want to be a sportscaster, what's stopping you from buying a microphone, buying a mixing board, and getting in front of a camera and doing it now on your laptop? What's stopping
Hmm.
you from starting your own podcast or your own sports social media site? Like there are like Don, like what was an influencer when we were growing up? Like that was no such thing. Where
Nope.
nowadays people are getting paid millions of dollars to be a sports influencer, a social media influencer. So it's like start influencing now. Like so if you're passionate about sports, go to your local TV station and ask for an internship or ask the shadow. If you're passionate about debating sports, start a podcast with your best friends. Start doing it now. I tell college kids all the time, it is best to do everything that you can, from producing to writing to anchoring to reporting to hosting. You have to find out if you really love this industry, because Don, you can explain it like me. Like we don't get paid like everybody else thinks we get paid. And so it's like
Uh-oh.
you really have to love what you're doing to be able to withstand a lot of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And so I tell people all the time, you have to be you, but you got to be versatile. You got to do everything, and you got to love what you're doing. If you don't love what you're doing, you're going to get burnt out, and you're not going to want to keep doing it after so long.
Amen. Amen. And it also gets those reps in, like you're talking about, in front of the camera. Because the first time I don't even want to say kids, but people these days have the luxury of hearing their own voice. Remember the first time you had to leave a voicemail or your outgoing
Ooh,
message, and you're like,
ooh.
I sound like that. People get used to their own voice now because you're on FaceTime or whatever, but it's still different when you're in front of a camera and you have to present something. So do it. Start, like you said, start doing it now, because then you'll get those jitters out of the way, and then you'll be able to see yourself as a this comes across wrong, but you know what I mean, like a piece of meat. Like
Hmm.
you can be like objective about how you sound and how you look, almost as if you're another person, kind of like actors and actresses do. You can be like, I remember I was walking through the hallway, and it was after COVID. We're finally back into the hallways of Fox 9. And I heard this woman's voice coming out of one of the edit bays, and I didn't recognize the words. So I just said, hey, that woman sounds like me, because I could step outside of myself and I could say, that woman sounds like me. Someone goes, that is you. And I go, I didn't do that. They go, no, this is what you voiced it like 6 months ago. We're using it now. And like, that sounds like me. I said, yes, because you can observe yourself as a different entity. It's really weird to say. Like it's almost like I can critique myself without being personal, if that's weird, you know?
No, I get what you're
Um,
saying, because for the
yeah.
first year of my career, I refused to watch myself back on TV because I hated how I sounded and how I looked. But it was then when I realized, like, Well, Ahmad, you're only going to get better if you watch yourself and critique yourself. Like, so I had
Exactly.
to get over that embarrassing bit. And now I have no problem watching myself back on TV or listening to my voice.
Yep. And you can be like, hey, that guy sounds like me. And I'm like, that is you. Or no, that's a different guy. He does sound like you, because we're so
Absolutely.
well tuned. So that's
Hmm.
sage advice. Well, Ahmad, thank you. I know it's kind of a crazy busy week, and I really appreciate you taking this like half hour to be with us. So glad we had you on. And I'll see you there tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Unless you're
absolutely. I
off tomorrow,
appreciate you.
I'm not sure.
No, I'm in tomorrow. So I
Okay.
appreciate you taking the time to let me talk about the Gophers and myself. And I'll continue talking about the Gophers all week now because it's a big week for them leading up to Friday.
All right. Well, maybe we'll have you on again because we'll see how far they go.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it, Don. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, Ahmad. Thanks so much. Ahmad Hicks, everybody.